What is commonly accepted as something that everybody knows and surprised you when you found somebody who didn't know it? My mom is 75, and just last week she was shocked because she saw a helicopter hovering in place. I had to explain to her that they don't need to keep moving like a plane. Not related, but the memory immediately popped into my head. Back in 1986 there was a World's Fair in Vancouver. Saw a Harrier jet hovering. Holy crap. That was the loudest sound I have ever heard in my life, before or since. My family member thought Mount Rushmore was a natural occurrence and that it just so happened to look like 4 of our most important presidents. She was in her 40s when we told her otherwise. Crazy how nature did that. A few months ago I found out one of my best friends thought all houses were made of brick, and that they were covered over with siding. When we tried to tell him he was wrong, he said, "How do you think the walls stand up? Wood, they're made of wood." My friend was an environmental science major. At one point, he uttered these words, "Yeah, I think spiders might be my favorite mammal." Apparently he thought that because they have hair, they are mammals. I bring this up every chance I get. One time somebody tried to tell me that elephants aren't mammals because they don't have hair. I pointed out that they do, but it's lighter, more inconsistent hair that you'd see if you were up close. Their reply, "Oh well, that doesn't count." Girl at work thought the Kentucky Derby was in a different location each year. We had it on during work, and she made some kind of comment about how it was so nice that the Kentucky Derby was actually in Kentucky this year. They must all be so thrilled. Whoa, the Daytona 500 made its way back to Daytona this year. Everyone should know that the IRS will not call demanding money from you. One of my co-workers spent an hour the other day arguing with scammers over a made-up debt, then finally called the IRS to make sure. And Microsoft does not email you with a virus notification. That link is malware. My dad was 65 years old at the time for this conversation, and we had a big family meal with my sister, her Mr. Gran, me and my parents. We were having sausages, and there was one left. He said, "Does anyone want the last sausage?" I said, "I'll rock, paper, scissors you for it." He stared at me blankly for a few seconds and was like, "What?" And that was the day I discovered that not only had my father no idea how to play rock, paper, scissors, he had never even heard of it. Someone I know insisted on emailing NASA to confirm that it was safe to watch the latest solar eclipse on the television or a computer screen without safety glasses. The reason the moon is bright at night is because the sun's rays are reflecting on it. A friend in my engineering course had no idea. There was a 28-year-old guy pronounced Colonel as it was spelled, as opposed to how it's properly pronounced, like Colonel. To make matters worse, his boss was a lieutenant colonel. Source, me. It was me. I'm the fricking grown idiot who didn't know how to fricking pronounce Colonel. Used to work at a KFC. My day was not complete until at least 5 people asked for the colonial strips. My husband didn't know the look left, right, then left again rule for turning and driving. I mentioned it once. About a week later he let me know. Wow, that trick really works well. More people should do that. Don't know if it counts, but my ex thought owls only existed in Harry Potter and fairy tales. I actually argued with her for almost a year over this. She refused to believe it. Since many of you are asking and this is getting more and more upvotes, I got through with her once I started telling people about it. She learned the hard way, by humiliation, that no one was gonna agree with her. But you kinda deserve it when you argue with your BF despite video, image and biology textbook evidence. I even looked for a zoo or similar where we could see one live. Man, imagine seeing one in the wild. You'd think you'd seen a unicorn or something. I was way too old when I found out that my grandparents were my dad's parents. I just thought that every family was assigned an older couple to take care of. I was older than I should have been when I figured it out. My dad said, "What do you want for dinner, Mom?" and it clicked. For a long time I didn't think my sets of grandparents knew each other. One day my paternal grandma mentioned my maternal grandma and in my head I was like, how TF do they know each other? Oh right, my parents' wedding, they would have at the very least met there. A friend's dad once said, "How is the table so wet?" in reference to the cold glasses of water on it. His wife said it was condensation, and he replied, "I'm not familiar." I work in the plumbing industry. I billed a guy $280 for a lesson on condensation. Someone I know stated that she didn't realize that hurricanes don't have a gender identity. Somehow she thought that there were male and female hurricanes, rather than an arbitrary naming system. I didn't laugh at this until I was reading the next comment and my mind conjured the image of a hurricane with a vagina. That islands are attached to the earth, not floating. We elect some really educated people to Congress. During a House Armed Services Committee meeting held on the 25th of March 2010, Representative Hank Johnson, a Democrat from Lithonia, Georgia, questioned Admiral Robert Willard, commander of the U.S. Pacific Command, about a proposal to move 8,000 Marines from the Japanese island of Okinawa to the U.S. Pacific Island territory of Guam. In the course of that questioning, Rep. Johnson expressed concern that adding thousands of Marines and their families to Guam might cause that small island to tip over and capsize. Had a buddy I lived with in college that I taught how to boil water. He seriously had no idea it was just put water in a pot and apply heat. Thought you had to add salt to it or something. He's an attorney now. I mean, it's not uncommon to add a pinch of salt. I work at a university. I was talking with a student about cosmology and was surprised when she asked if our moon was bigger than the earth. Then, I was shocked when she asked if the sun was bigger than the earth. That you don't wear white to a wedding unless you're the bride. Our friend showed up in a white dress and everyone ragged on her for it. To which she said, "I wanted to wear my Greek dress." To which the bride said, "I wanted to wear my wedding dress." Fight ensued. I thought another reason for not wearing white was because there are slightly different whites, especially in wedding dresses. You don't want to stand next to the bride in stark white and make her ivory dress look dingy compared yours. Taxes, not just the rates or anything, that they exist. I was working in a call center for a telecom and got a call from a lady trying to figure out what these extra charges were for and what the company was using them for and why she was lied to about her price. I had to explain to her about taxes, which she had never heard of. She was in her 30s. Not knowing what taxes are is one thing, but in some places the advertised price really is what you pay, as the taxes are already built into the price. My husband didn't know the US Postal Service delivers mail every day, except Sunday. Every time I asked him to get the mail, he'd loudly protest that he got it yesterday. I would tell him yes, go get it today, and somehow he was always in awe that I knew mail would he delivered that particular day. We finally had a fight one day when he refused to get the mail while I was waiting for an important letter. I told him I've been waiting for every day's delivery and he was shocked that USPS is a daily thing. At the age of 33. You can shock him again by telling him that USPS now delivers every day. Yes, even Sunday. The Postal Service cut a deal with Amazon to deliver their packages on Sunday. Source: a mailman. Do not like working Sundays. A woman I worked with who believed all bears walk upright all the time, as their norm, not that they can't. When I questioned this, she cited the cartoon Yogi Bear. That's not a fair comparison. He's smarter than the average bear. I knew an otherwise fully functional and capable young man who didn't know how to tie his shoes. He'd just use Velcro, never bothered to learn or couldn't get it. Bunny ears for life. I have a friend, a grown man, that didn't know pickles were once cucumbers. I guess he thought pickles existed naturally in the wild. My friend didn't know you're supposed to at least try to take your birth control pill at around the same time every day. She said she'd take it in nights, then the next morning, and then wait all the way till the next night to take it again sometimes, and would frequently poke fun at me for having a daily reminder for mine. I taught a 9th grade general science class, which was basically for all of the kids that failed 8th grade science. We started talking about biology and what classifies things as living. Some were shocked to hear that plants were living creatures. In 9th grade, that was a rough year. Before you write a word that starts with a vowel, you use an instead of a. I used to just pick and choose at random and hope it's right. Vowel sound. So you'd write a helicopter but an honor. For the first 17 years of my life I did not know shrimp have legs. I grew up in a landlocked state and refused to eat seafood. My brother had a seafood allergy and I decided I didn't like seafood, I guess. One day my friend was telling me about a barbecue she'd attended and how the food was really good. They even had shrimp with the feet still attached. I sat in silence for a beat before exclaiming, "Shrimp have feet?" I honestly thought they just sorta shrimped around the seafloor, like inchworms. Shrimped around. LOL. I didn't know how to use a whipped cream bottle until I was 12 because my parents never bought it. That was an awkward party. I was delivering some powdered formula to a nice lady and told her it needed to be reconstituted with water, 1 part powder to 2 parts water by volume. She didn't know what a part was and kept insisting that I provide her with a particular unit of measurement, so I had to explain the concept of ratios to someone with a PhD. That trees keep growing bigger till they die. They don't just stop at maturity like people do. This dude had a master's in environmental science and worked in vegetation management. Their growth slows down and they'll get bushier, but they do just keep growing. It might be because, in the US at least, it's rare to see trees more than 150 years old. The entire eastern US was a forest until not that long ago. In my senior year of high school, we were talking about the Holocaust in my IB Global Politics class and one of our classmates didn't know that the Holocaust was real. She thought it was fiction that only existed in movies. That you actually have 2 pipes in your throat. One girl I knew freshman year thought that down the wrong pipe was just an expression. I've had to explain marginal tax rates to people on a number of occasions. As a public service to the people who don't know, a fair few people think that when you go up to a higher tax bracket, you'll end up paying the higher tax rate on your entire income, an idea that is often pushed by less than scrupulous employers as a reason why you don't really want that pay increase, because you'll be worse off. You won't. You only pay the new rate on the money over the threshold. If the tax rate is 10% below £20,000 and 20% above £20,000, and you get a pay rise that takes you to £21,000, you won't pay that 20% on everything £4,200. Instead, you'll pay 10% on everything up to the cut-off point. 10% of £20,000 is £2,000, and 20% on everything above it. 20% of the remaining £1,000 is £200, which gives you a total tax bill of £2,200. With very few exceptions, mostly related to means-tested benefits, you're going to be better off taking the pay rise even if it pushes you into a new tax bracket. This is also why progressive tax structures are better for the vast majority of people, rather than just a flat tax. You'll almost certainly be worse off financially under a flat tax structure. This needs to be the top comment. I was today years old when I learned this. You know how when you close a cardboard box by folding one tab over the next, and tuck the last one in so it stays closed? I had to show a 50-year-old man how to do that last week. He'd never seen it before. Pro tip for all who struggle with the last tab: always fold the longest tab first. It will make it so you are pulling up on the longest tab to fold in the last tab. I remember that time they did a news story about how high percent, can't remember how many of primary age kids in the UK didn't know chips were made from potatoes. I always knew because my nan would cut them in the living room while watching TV before dinner, so I saw where they came from. It never occurred to me that other people had never seen their parents make chips from scratch, as they had only ever gotten them from frozen in bags and boxes. For those of us over the pond, fries. Clicking a link with the mousey wheel button will open it in a new tab. I've worked in IT for 10 years and most of my colleagues still right click or hold the control key. Hey, I hold the control key. I don't trust myself not to scroll when I try to middle click. How to swim. I assumed that in most Western countries learning to swim was like learning to walk. You just do. Turns out that in the US and some European countries swimming isn't all that obvious. First time someone told me they don't know how to swim, it felt like they were telling me they didn't know how to count to 10. It was baffling. I used to teach English to Chinese kids, aged 10-17. None of them knew how to swim. I ended up teaching them. I had to explain to a grown freaking woman what a double negative is. She was sending an email and wrote "you didn't never send the report I asked for." After explaining what a double negative is, she changed the email to "you did not never sent." Yes, she wrote "sent." The report I asked for, I didn't correct her that time, just let her hit send. Windows had a built-in calculator. So many people I've worked with don't realize this. They'll be sitting at a computer and get up to do a calculator. Just to be clear, it's not that they prefer a regular calculator. They do not know there is one in Windows. Get up to do a calculator. Just a few weeks ago I had to explain to a friend of mine who Hitler was. Poor girl had no idea. What baffled me the most was that she is actually a straight A student, but it turns out she's completely ignorant of everything outside of school textbooks. So it was me who didn't know something. My friends were very surprised when they discovered that I didn't know that yogurt and butter were made from milk. I can't explain why I didn't know that. I guess I just never thought about it. They were both horrified and found it hilarious, and I'm pretty mortified now that I had no idea. Played Trivial Pursuit with my family a few years back and my brother pronounced Beyonce as Bey once. He wasn't joking. He's also an avid WoW player and pronounces Q as Kiwi. Oh, so he pronounces Q correctly at least. Just dealt with a roommate who moved here from rural North Carolina but acts like he's from another planet. Housemate, the drivers around here are really scary. Me, yeah, it takes a bit to get used to driving around here. Don't worry, you'll get better with practice. Housemate, I mean the other drivers are really unreasonable. Me, yeah, people tend to be in a hurry and ignore a lot of traffic laws. You will just have to adjust to them. It will come with time. Housemate, I mean, I was driving only 5 under the speed limit in the left lane on 35W and everyone was honking and swearing at me. Around here, the left lane is the fast lane / passing lane. You can't go under the speed limit in it. You shouldn't even go the speed limit in it. Housemate, that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why they do that around here. I take 35W to work every day. I don't know your roommate, but I already hate him. Also, the dumbass is going to cause a wreck with that crap. Basic food safety. My fiancée wasn't aware that food cannot sit out at room temperature for a long time. A year or so back she made crock pot chili, and the crock went from warm to off around 8 PM that night. She left it out all night, and when I got home it was still sitting on the counter at room temperature. At 7:30 PM the next night, she was planning on serving it to the kids the next day. Cooked meat sitting on the counter for almost 24 hours. And she was mad that I didn't put it in the fridge for tomorrow. I try to be gentle with her and teach her not to kill the kids, you know, because she was raised mainly by an abusive father that essentially cooked steak and fries every night that he didn't get fast food. She never learned anything about cooking until she was in college. How basic gardening works. You sow seeds in the spring and harvest food later in the summer. We were working in our garden and I had to explain to a friend that yes, salad, peas, potatoes etc. that we were sowing in May and would produce crops that can be harvested later in the summer. I guess her logic was that they would be harvested the following year or maybe later. A lot of people seem to be very detached from how food is produced. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.